Thank you. So Karine Tannant, I'm principal scientist working in scientific and regulatory affairs in Cargill. I support R&D projects. I'm not here to talk about innovation. As you know, it's highly secret for companies. But thanks to FEFAC for inviting me and a good opportunity. So I try to more here represent about the voice of the industry through projects that we are going through. So what I would like to start with is, first of all, on the feed industry, as you know, it's also about animal nutrition, how we feed animals. And if we look on the historical perspective, 50 years ago, when we were feeding animals, it was really about quantity, also efficiency, because there was a cost, but it was really about feeding the populations and producing foods. And then after comes a bit more consumer sensitive to qualities. We also tried to improve protein output. You know, it was not just about producing animals, but it was about having more milk, more protein in the milk, more lean porks or poultries. And in formulation also, it was not just about formulations in protein, but also about amino acids, digestible amino acids. And then when we also use alternative protein sources, but you know that after, by using some ingredients, we had some safety concern. We use, of course, animal proteins. They were very interesting, very good amino acid profiles, but we have this BSE crisis end of the 20th century, which has really changed the game. We also, for improving quantity, efficiency, use antibiotics as growth promoters. We also find out that they were also threatening human health due to possible link to antimicrobial resistance. So then, after quantity, efficiency, quality, came the topic on safety. So for the last at least 20 years, we have also to take care of providing safe feed for safe food. And more recently, especially me personally going through that with FAO on the livestock launch shadow about 10 years ago, saying that livestock is, especially ruminants, are big producers of greenhouse gas. You know, sustainability really came on the agenda of innovations. And this is not just something new, but it's top of the layers that all of what we have to consider. So, and on this antimicrobial resistance, we are talking about having an integrated approach between animal productions, you know, food and feed. I think it's already considered on the One Health approach. Resistance of antimicrobial resistance has been really identified as a critical issue a few years ago by OIE, WHO, and FAO. And we have to, we acknowledge that there is a link between animal health and human health. We have to reduce the use of antibiotics. Codex has reopened a task force on antimicrobial resistance, and through this to revise the Codex code to minimize and contain foodborne AMR. And FAO, on this exercise, has published a few weeks ago here this report on animal nutrition strategies and options to reduce the use of antimicrobial in animal production. So through the research of the last 2-3 decades, we do have solutions really to maintain performances without the use of antibiotics. This is now recognized by this international paper, which is really mainly focusing on the effect of nutrition on gut health, on microbiome of animals. In Europe, because we have gone through this exercise of banning antimicrobials as growth promoters about 20 years ago, there is already kind of a recognition also that animal nutrition strategies are part of tertiary prevention. And that's very, I would say, very good news, because there are very, very few jurisdictions in the world or authorities which are recognizing this role. And it has actually legal implications, because normally if you prevent, you're a drug. But us as animal nutrition, we do have solutions to support animal health without being considered as a drug, because it's a normal evolution of what is nutrition. And this paper from EFSA and EMA on strategies to reduce the need to use antibiotics really has a good positioning on the role of animal nutrition in the prevention. We have primary prevention between more regions, so biosecurity measures between farms, and then we have the secondary prevention, which is more about the transmission reductions within the farm, and then we have the tertiary prevention, which is really about the increased ability of animals to cope with pathogens. And it's many more about resilience of animals to cope with stress in more general. So having this paper, having the FAO also, for the last 3-4 years now, at international level, the International Feed Industry Federations, where FEFAC is the member, where Cargill is the member as a corporate, we do have a project in place where we are trying to define now what is really animal nutrition. It's just go beyond the role of nutrients to promote growth. It's really about other substances, microorganisms. It's about optimizing the feed, the nutrients, how we manufacture, how we present, how we deliver to animals. And the roles there are really to minimize the exposure of the animal to stress in feeds, and that's particularly important, with the risk on mycotoxins or contaminants. It's, of course, to cover animals' requirements, but also to support digestions, physiological functions, body system, and behavioral expressions. So that's really an extension of the role of nutrition that goes just really far beyond the role of nutrients. And having these definitions of nutrition, we hope to support animal resilience capabilities, and by doing that, we support animal health, animal welfare. We support animal performance because there is also an economical part of it, for farmers as well. And indirectly, by having healthier animals, we can support a better use of feed resources. So this mapping of the nutrition is really an area where you can have research in all those topics. So what we are doing now, we are gathering the state of science. I would say we have a scientific panel who is gathering information, and we try to see where are the areas where we really substantiate the role of nutrition on those roles, but where we do have gaps as well. And in terms of gaps, it's also about not just having these nice endpoints, which could be measured in laboratory, but we really want to develop endpoints which are measurable, practical for farmers, so that we can link in as well with an economical performance of farming system. And it's the same as we have this integrated approach, the One Health. I think having a one nutrition approach, when you think about feed and food competition, we have one planet, it's to feed everything. I've put plant nutrition, but I think it's clear that it's also about soil nutrition. We have seen that this morning on agroecology. It's the fundamentals of the principles. And this is really to achieve an optimal nutrition among all living organisms, and how we best allocate, actually, and potentially how we transform non-edible to edible food. And one of the challenges that we see, how to assess environmental footprint. And I don't want to go too much into details here because lots have been done or concluded already on this topic. For the moment, how we measure this, yes, it's true, we tend to have a linear approach, whether it's for human activities or whether for animal productions or plant productions. We measure inputs, we measure output, but it's from a linear standpoint. And now what we need is to have a circular integrated approach so that some of the output is coming again as an input and in other streams. So the challenge here is to say how do we really measure environmental performance at farm level, and we even said this morning potentially it's not just at farm, it's at regional, territorial level. So we really need methodologies, technologies which are required to be able to measure that. And my conclusion here as an expectation is that as an industry, we are here to fulfill market demands, and we want to maintain also competitive advantage. So, but the competition must happen in a fair level playing field, and we should not mislead. We are talking about labeling, but we should avoid that everybody comes with its own equation, its own values. So the research at international level is really to promote pre-competitive environment. We need to develop methods, scientifically based, for the evaluation, for the measurement, whether this is used by national authorities for their inventories, whether it's used by private sectors, to develop their standards, but at least we talk the same language. Science also then is used to generate new knowledge and recognized by the scientific community. And then we need to transform research into innovation. And what does it mean as well? It's to support livestock production system, but those solutions must be also technically adapted and economically viable for farmers. And that's of the challenge. We can see today industries which do have solutions to decrease methane in ruminants, but the farmer don't want to buy them. It's in Brazil. they don't want to buy. Say, why should I buy this? You know? So, but we have the solutions. Or we have the solutions, but FDA will say, no, it's a drug. How you are going to regulate that? You know, so fortunately in Europe, and it was shown in one of the slides now, we have under the revisions of feed additive regulations, which will allow us certainly to better valorize solutions that we have under a fair regulatory framework. And that would be my last word here as the key to success, is to have a proper legal framework to unlock the potential of the innovations that we have to support livestock production system. Thank you.